Today on the Topping Show, Matt Walsh roasts the Star Wars Revenge of the Sith and goes viral on social media. Michelle Obama praises a person for raising a trans child. Tim Walz staffer will in fact face federal charges for costing $20,000 in damages to Teslas. An African American moves to the United States and Ghana, saying that she did so to escape racism, but now greatly misses the United States. Toyota chairman and the founder of the grandson, Akio Toyoda, says that sports cars must have gas engines. And BMW puts a 4-cylinder engine into their M2 race car. All of that and much more on The Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapters, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15, like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have the Toyota chairman and also the grandson of the great founder, Mr. Akio Toyoda, saying that sports cars must have gas engines, and I couldn't agree more. A very wise, intelligent, enlightened mindset to have in the auto community and auto leadership, which is all too much acquiescing to boring EV technologies and hybrids. So Toyota is also winning in the hybrid game in terms of number of units being sold, but I partially digress. They still have some fun and give us 3 pedals, also known as a manual transmission, which every car should have by default. Toyota actually has the greatest amount of stick shifts available in terms of the variety of cars, or rather models with a stick shift option. Though, fun fact of the day, Honda sold more stick shifts than any other manufacturer on the planet in 2024. But ADHD aside, I partially digress. Let's dive into the article. Now, this is credited to Adrian, who is a writer at thedrive.com, and kind of ironic, they have a picture of a Toyota piece of plastic, but the engine is the BMW straight 6. Now, they say, quote, we'll pop down from the menu. It says, Toyota chairman says a sports car must have a gas engine. Akio Toyoda is open to the idea of an EV, but he prefers the smell of a gas engine and noisy engine. And here you can see the Mark V Supra, which admittedly is just a slightly rebadged BMW, though they did add a nice little plastic, well, I'm being sarcastic, obviously. They have that stupid plastic hunk that they bolt onto the top of the engine to decrease noise, which I would argue, especially for a sports car, why would you do this? But you do see the Toyota logo on the plastic engine cover of the BMW engine. Now, diving in the article, they say, quote, it's been nearly 2 years since Toyota gave us a taste of an electric sports car. Yeah. The FTSE concept has yet to be evolved into an actual production model, probably due to the lack of anyone giving a damn, but that's just me. That's because a good road-going version isn't coming anytime soon. Instead, the company's chairman would much rather stick with performance vehicles powered by combustion engines. The former president of the world's largest automaker for the 5th consecutive year made his preference abundantly clear in an interview with Automotive News. Against Akio saying, quote, for me, as a master driver, my definition of a sports car is something with a smell of a gasoline engine and a noisy engine. Unquote. He admits there are people at Toyota pursuing a fun EV, but he'd much rather stick with good old ICE, which, again, the FTE, again, it looks really cool. It almost looks something you see from the Fast and Furious films. But yeah, it looks cool, but yeah, the Toyota concept is an EV, which, again, if they actually just put a V6 with a stick shift, twin turbo that thing, that would be awesome. I couldn't afford it, but if I could afford it, I would probably buy one to actually have a big, because again, the current Toyota actual sports cars, I mean, they're mostly rebranded. I was about to say the Toyota BRZ, which is kind of a joke for the automotive community, because the Subaru BRZ badge shares with the Toyota 86. It's the same thing, and it's got a Subaru engine. Fun little coupe, not a lot of power. Even my Honda's faster in straightaway, debatably sometimes. But that's kind of rebadged. The Mark V Supra, also shared with BMW. You have the Corolla GR, which is awesome, but, I mean, shoot, that's not even 4 cylinders. So it's one of those things where, again, I really wish they would come out with a bigger combustion sports car. Again, who knows what the future may bring, but that's kind of what my first thought was like, what do I wish Toyota did that they aren't currently doing at the moment? Now, they also say, quote, it's not that he's completely against the idea of an electric sports car, but like you and me, we have our priorities. Akio Toyoda, and fun fact, the family's name is Toyoda, but the business name is Toyota. Fun fact of the day. I'm filled with them. I'm great for trivia nights, unless they ask about sports balls or athletes out of anything. Then I'm utterly useless. But again, I partially digress. They say, quote, Akio Toyoda isn't the typical high-ranking executive cooped up in the office all day. He's Toyota's master driver and an alter ego, Morizo. He took the name back in 2007 for the Nuremberg 24-hour endurance race and has been using it ever since. More recently, you might remember this name from a special edition GR Corolla and lesser-known Lexus MBX Morizo RR crossover. Toyota admits it's not exciting to race EVs because the batteries doesn't last more than a circuit or for more than an hour. Yeah. In other words, the company's chairman argues that the current technology is not up to snuff, adding that it would be, quote, a race of charging time or battery exchange. He prefers to enter endurance races, so EVs are not feasible yet, which, yeah, that's why I laughed derisively at Porsche saying they're going to make the Cayman EV, which would be utter trash for anyone who actually goes to the track. Because, again, most track weekends, like when I do NASA events, not the, aerospace, but, actual car one, I mean, usually we'll get 4 sessions of 25 minutes apiece. And maybe, I think at most you have an hour between sessions to kind of take a little breather, take a bio break, or, go to the facilities and make sure your tire pressures are good, just to check your vehicle over. You only have multiple hours to actually charge up the vehicle. You could take about 2 minutes to gas it up with the on-prem gas station, but yeah, you don't have hours of downtime in between sessions. So it's great to see that, the chairman is still all about the gas engines. And I know the demand is dwindling, especially the economy for sports cars. I would love to have the next generation Supra being built in-house with the actual Toyota engine and an actual stick shift from the get-go. Again, I think a lot of people didn't like, the Mark V Supra because, again, it was a BMW, and to Toyota's credit, they finally gave us, the stick shift, and that was pretty cool. They didn't have to do that research development. They took the gamble, and I think they successfully paid off with the number of people who bought it. But again, a lot of people I know who wanted, Supra wanted a Toyota-made Supra. So I'm not sure in terms of viability of a product or profitability, if it's even possible in 2026, 2027 to make something like that. And I was going to say, if the time frame I don't think it's at all feasible to make it in 2025, with life cycles of cars being made and all the prep you have to do. But let me know in the comments your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the Cultural Part podcast, you have Matt Walsh roasting Star Wars Revenge of the Sith and going viral. And to Disney's credit, though I don't think they intended it, the new Disney Star Wars films are so bad, it's made the prequels look like beautiful works of art, akin to Jaws, and some might even dare say the original Star Wars. So I wouldn't, but some might. And before we dive into Matt Walsh's quote, I thought it'd be fun to watch one of the highlights from the prequels, which, in terms of bad acting and cumbersome writing, I don't know if it gets much worse than this, but this is the famous Anakin, I don't like sand from Star Wars Episode 2. It's 22 seconds long, but it's hilarious.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Not like here. Here everything is soft and smooth.
And I think, and people say I'm awkward, which I am, but relatively speaking, to Hayden Christensen in the scene, granted, he was just, reading what he was told to say. I mean, shoot, I almost feel like Pierce Brosnan, relatively speaking. And that, again, George Lucas is a genius in terms of writing the stories, and he gambled everything to make the films come true. Exceptional story entrepreneurship. But yeah, some of these lines are just so bad and cumbersome. I'm surprised it doesn't have more. They got 3 million views over the course of 10 years for that clip. Now, going to Matt Walsh and his actual post on X, now he says, quote, took some of my kiddos to see the Revenge of the Sith re-release in theaters. Hadn't seen it since it first came out. Even worse than I remembered. Worst dialogue I've ever heard in mainstream Hollywood film. Abysmal action cinematography. Not one good acting performance in the film. Truly a horrible piece of shit. An insult to the heart of cinema. George Lucas should be arrested, unquote. Okay. And this got 2.5 million views as well as 13,000 likes. Now, Matt Walsh actually quotes some of the movie where it says Anakin saying, quote, you're so beautiful. And Natalie Portman says, quote, it's only because I'm so in love with you. Anakin goes, no, it's because I'm in love with you, unquote, which, yeah, I was going to say that was comical to say the least. Now, You also have Matt Walsh saying, quote, "My favorite part is at the end when they're on the lava planet for some reason, and they have a clumsy cinematic choreographed lightsaber duel that feels like it might go on for 6.5 hours. Anakin jumps and flips in the air like Spider-Man, but then at the end he loses it because the other guy is standing on a small hill and has higher ground. That was for some reason an insurmountable strategic advantage, even though Anakin did just seconds earlier leaped like 20 feet in the air while doing flips like an Olympic gymnast. So then Anakin decides to jump directly over the top of the guy, close enough so he can casually reach up and cut off his legs. He could have jumped anywhere else on the hill or just a little higher and avoided the issue." And that extra comment got 2.5 thousand likes. Now, one of the first comments to Matt Walsh is from the Based Electrician saying, quote, do you hate your kiddos or this a punishment? Getting 10 likes. You also have Jonathan Katz saying, quote, "Only a Sith deals in absolutes, Matt," getting 1.8 thousand likes, which it's also kind of funny because that's, I mean, the Jedis say that, and yet the Jedis make the same absolute statements pretty much half of the films. You also have Liberty Curligan saying, quote, "Last weekend I finally watched The Accountant from 2016. I was shocked. We've never watched it, definitely." Well, that's boring. It's unrelated. George says, "But it has some of the best meme content." It's Biden in 2020 versus Biden in 2024. It's Palpatine saying, "I love democracy." And he's saying, "We'll make the first galactic empire," getting 227 likes for that meme. Yes, Nathan saying, quote, "Rare Walsh loss. Acting and dialogue is poor at times, but storytelling and acting is top tier." Getting 2.8 thousand likes? Really? I mean, yeah, because there's nothing kids love more than the intricacies of talking about Senate and politics. Does he forget that was like the main theme of the films? Green Go says, quote, "If you're not with us, you're our enemy," getting 1.4 thousand likes. Scrolling down more and more, you have Asher Nothesis saying, quote, "If this picture of C-3PO is actually ripping," what the heck? "If this picture of C-3PO absolutely ripping a heater gets more likes, then your post sucks and Revenge of the Sith is one of the best Star Wars films ever." C-3PO smoke. So the actor, it looks like, was smoking a cigarette while in costume. Got 1.4 thousand likes for that. Liberty Denton says, quote, "STFU, Matt, you're just being a contrarian with this one." And the Simmerkata can't speak today. As I always have that funny saying, if you click that subscribe button, it might help my speaking aptitudes. I actually think it might be a true theory because when I first started the show, barely anyone tuned in. Well, maybe family, but as I slowly but surely gain more subscribers, I've been better at speaking. Granted, there's a lot of room for improvement. You could argue it's just modicum improvement at all, but I would say statistically an improvement nevertheless. So if you click that button, greatly appreciate it. Now, what I was attempting to say was, Liberty Dent On says, "STFU Matt, you're just being a contrarian with this one, and the cinematography between Anakin and Obi-Wan is some of the best never done," getting 1.4 thousand likes, really. Blabbering Collector says, quote, "Being dramatic on the internet saying George should have been arrested for a movie you don't like is soy boy behavior. Just saying," getting 803 likes. Jonathan Katz says, "Is this opposite date or something?" getting 260 likes, which I actually don't think this is too much a contrarian. Most people viscerally didn't like those movies. Maybe it is with rose-tinted glasses. More people are liking them. It is kind of nice to see Hayden Christensen getting some good publicity lately and doing some interviews where people are, liking him, because a lot of people blame the actors and actresses for the bad films in terms of, they blame the actors and actresses for the dialogue, when again, they were just reading the scripts. And yeah, it's one of those things where the kid who played Anakin in the pod racing one, people hated him so much, he got out of acting altogether. It was that much of a visceral, disgusting reaction to the films at the time. So I actually don't think Matt's statements here they're really not that much of a contrarian. I think most people probably agree. Not the B says, quote, "I love how Padme dies of a broken heart or something after 3 films of making her go and be a girl boss and have her children just be mean little brats to her. She has no motivation to live once her moody emo boyfriend turns bad." 1,000 likes. And yeah, that was another funny thing. Well, I don't know if it was a movie, so it's not like anyone really died, but in the film, they said she died of a broken heart, which, again, she's surrounded by fancy robots and, medical technologies, and you go, yeah, just died of a broken heart, which, yeah, is not technically, I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure you don't technically die from that. Now, you also have, let's see here, Isaac, saying, quote, "And it's really absolutely trounced all the recent Disney Star Wars films nonsense," getting 205 likes. Yeah. So that's the funny thing. I think, yeah, Clueless Chris also says, "If you're not with me, you are my enemy." Another quote from the Star Wars film, getting 280 likes. But again, in comparison to the new films, I do actually think the prequels are amazing. As crazy as that sounds, they had great actors, great actresses. Story obviously was lacking, but in comparison, I think maybe it's also nostalgia. A lot of people that when the movie came out with at the time were children, now they're becoming older. I think that's also a variable of why I think more people are receptive to the prequels and like them more and more. But yeah, it looks like Matt was maybe about a 50-50 split between people liking him and people roasting him. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have an African American moving from the United States to Ghana to quote-unquote flee racism, and now very much misses America, which reminds me of the age-old quote from Ted Nugent, who once said, "The whole world sucks, but the US sucks the least," which I think there's some truth to that. Now, this is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness, and he says, quote, "Black American who moved to Ghana to, quote, flee, quote-unquote, right racism is now desperate to return." And I was going to say, not too much, I was going to say, people think I'm bad at cinematography. She has one of those rudimentary camera angles where it's like a single guy in his 50s that's starting to date, where they have the camera like looking up at their nose, which, yeah, maybe she'll fix the camera angle. That looks comical to say the least. But without too much further ado.
But y'all, I'd rather go back to America and deal with the racism in America before I sit here in Africa and deal with the bullshit bribery, the bullshit fraud, the bullshit scams, the bullshit too expensive, the bullshit not having no snacks, the bullshit not having no food, the bullshit electricity.
Now, grammatically speaking, she is technically saying they have all that. I don't think that's what she means, but again, grammatically speaking, a double negative is in fact a positive. But I partially digress.
The bullshit hot water, the bullshit what's that shit called that be coming down?
Right?
The bullshit animals, it's scorpions outside the house, it's big ass spiders, it's big ass lizards, colorful lizards you ain't never seen before, all in the fucking room with you, sleeping with you. All the bullshit people trying to scam you when you go outside thinking you rich, so they trying to get more money off of you. I'm really trying to wrap my head around this shit. I'm really trying to wrap my head around how are Americans coming to Africa and being happy. Please comment down below, because for me, I'm ready to go. And I always used to say, if it's up to me, it will be. And I'm going to go out to Africa and make shit happen. No, I don't want to. I want to take my businesses back to America. I want to open up shop back in America, open up my dentist office, and all the stuff that I was going to do out here in America. Steady electricity. And the only time our electricity get cut off is when we don't pay the bill. And we got it so good now, we got prepaid electricity. So if we forget to pay the bill, we put some money on that prepaid thing, and it comes right back on in 2 minutes. In less than 2 minutes. This shit right here didn't come on for 14 hours yesterday. I can't deal. I love the people. Don't get me wrong. When I'm outside, I'm having fun.
Weren't you just telling me the people outside were trying to scam you?
I love the people. But when I come back to reality, when you come back home, home is where the heart is, right? When you come back home, you're supposed to feel comfortable. You're supposed to be happy. I'm not happy. To live in a house where you look outside and all you see is turkeys and ducks and chickens and sheeps and old malnourished cows.
I mean, as someone who aspires to someday own a ranch, I mean, shoot, I've actually kind of like to look out my window and see like my dinner walking up to me. That's pretty darn convenient. Granted, you just have to prep it properly, of course. But I mean, the last part I'm kind of on board with. I mean, imagine you have nice scenery around you, got your chickens, maybe a couple cows on your land. But I know she's not talking about that. Now, this went pretty well. I got 2.9 million views and 49,000 likes. One of the first comments coming to us, thanks to Gunther Eagleman, saying, quote, "Coming back to depression here? Who would have thought?" Getting 1.8 thousand likes. Anti-woke memes, or anti-woke memes, in fact, A+ for marketing, they did in fact respond in meme form, saying, quote, "Turns out systematic racism exists in America against white men." It looks like this is a survey published, 2022 by Emily Van D. Reet. And it says, quote, 1 in 6 hiring managers have been told to stop hiring white men. Survey finds. Getting 1.4 thousand likes, which, yeah, it's perverse and illegal, but yeah, a lot of companies are doing that more and more. Paul Suzupa says, quote, "No, sorry, no undoes," getting 191 likes. Going down more and more. Let's see. Crazy Vibes got 1.7 thousand likes for this, saying, quote, any type of racism is unacceptable. It says, believe it or not, hating white people is racism too. Again, that got 1.7 thousand likes. Mirthful Moments, same truth. And it's a sticker says they don't hate racism, they hate white people, getting 885 likes. Matt Van Swoel says, quote, I'm loving all these videos of Americans leaving America, only to realize America is the absolute best. That's how it goes for anyone who travels outside the US, getting 2.5 thousand likes. Yep. Even Rosie O'Donnell, who hates the United States, went to Ireland, and yeah, she's like, yeah, now I kind of want to come back. And I'm pretty sure 95% of her life was just making fun of and hating the United States. Yeah, can't but think most of them are going to probably come back here. Jason Page saying, quote, he says, I have a hard time believing she doesn't have food, getting 1.9 thousand likes, which she's very, very much well fed. As in, yes, she's quite fat and obese. Mr. Pitbull says, quote, let me tell you who the most racist people are towards blacks. It's Asians, Arabs, Indians, Mexicans, black, white, yes, in that order. Getting 1.4 thousand likes. And yeah, a lot of people say the United States is racist. If you actually look at surveys and globally, we're one of the least racist places on the planet. I mean, shoot, I always joke, but I actually do mean it when I say capitalism defeated racism decades ago. Because capitalism, you want to get the best of the talent. So when you're building a business, you'll accept every single resume. Unless you're immoral, then you know, as another post say, you will not take resumes by people's race. I find that viscerally disgusting. But the best businesses, they want the best talent. If you want the best talent, you need the best sample size. You need all the prospective new hires. Again, you don't care about race. You care about who has the best resume, who has the best results, who has the best track record, who has the best skill set to build the business and propel it to the next level. But I partially digress. You also have Megatron. He must have some time in his hands. He's tweeting these days. Now, he says, quote, that's exactly why these tards should act better and respect the American way because they're more than likely as F to be here, getting 2.2 thousand likes. Cash Loren says, turns out capitalism is good, getting 37 likes, which, yeah, that was almost comical. 14 hours to get their electricity turned on. I mean, in comparison, that makes the U.S. Postal Service looks like I'd say even AT&T. I'm trying to think of like the big, or Comcast, like the most hated companies in the United States in terms of customer satisfaction. Even they don't take that long to resolve issues. Like, geez Louise. Barefoot Pregnant says, quote, sometimes the grass isn't greener on the other side, getting 53 likes. You also have anti-left memes saying, nope, please stay in Ghana. It's a white gal with the credit card saying, quote, your race card has been declined. Do you have another form of argument? Getting 591 likes. This one's very viral. This got 2.5 thousand likes. This is from Chris Langen saying, quote, want to know how much of this I was able to tolerate? I'd rather go back to America and deal with racism in America. That was it for me. In the first half of her sentence, she's already back to blaming all of her problems on Whitey. Africa is precisely where this kind of person belongs, and returned should not be an option, getting 2.5 thousand likes. Julie Muriano says she misses white people, doesn't she? Getting 505 likes. Yeah, I can't help but think. Oh, there's a picture of Rosie O'Donnell and Keith Olbermann, allegedly, but they look like the same picture. They got 68 likes. Yeah, so I can't help but think we'll see this trend of people who, when they do leave the United States, they inevitably come back here because, again, we're the best. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Michelle Obama on a podcast praising a person for raising a trans kid, and the way she phrases it, the media is saying, oh, she's admitting she's a man. Which, again, some of the comments will say how it's taken out of context, and we'll dive into the extended version. This is brought to us thanks to and Wokeness on X, and he actually just quotes Michelle Obama, so I'll actually just let her say it, and then I'll read the reader's added context little pop-up as well. Without too much further ado.
I wanted to talk, Marlon, a bit about, just so proud of how you are being a role model for dealing with a child that's transgender.
Absolutely.
And that's, that warms my heart, particularly as a Black man. Would you care to share that journey of...
Well,
And again, the reader's add context is basically saying she's talking to the man across from her. I think those are two separate people. Wait a minute. Those are both Michelle. I'm only partially kidding. And this went ridiculously viral. Got 5 million views, as well as 36,000 likes. Now, the reader's added context says, quote, the caption misrepresents Michelle Obama's words. She is asking her podcast guest, Marlon Wayans, about his transgender child. An accurate transcript would start with a second sentence after heart. That warms my heart, particularly as a black man. Would you care to share? So again, there's a reader's added context blurb right there. Now the first sentence, or rather the first comment, comes to us thanks to Patrick Webb, saying, quote, she's literally talking about Marlon. This is purposely taken out of context, getting 828 likes. Now, Egg Wokeness did respond in a ratioed Patrick, as they would say. And End Wokeness says, quote, I literally kept the end of the clip where the camera pans to Marlon so that nothing is, quote, purposely taken out of context. Everyone can draw their own conclusion. P.S. It's hilarious regardless, which, yeah, it is. Getting 1.1 thousand likes. Arthur Eagleman says the truth always comes out, getting 2.2 thousand likes. Cool Christian Engineer, which, I mean, A+ for marketing, you know exactly what he does for a living. And he says, quote, we all know the reason why Michelle is always fighting for trans rights. As a picture of, I don't know if it's Photoshop, but it looks like a picture of Michelle Obama looking very similar, getting 1.2 thousand likes. American Pop Bear says, quote, Big Mike knows all about this, getting 108 likes. We also have Livercat Media TM saying, quote, hey, Big Mike. And there's a picture of a girl that says there's no such thing as a trans child, getting 285 likes. Paul Zupa says, quote, nice of Michelle to finally tell the truth. What did it take him so long? Getting 68 likes. You also have Brianna Moriano saying, quote, yikes, getting 48 likes. Mirthful Moments saying, quote, Don Lemon says Michelle Obama is far more attractive than Melania Trump. He's attracted to men. Which, I mean, Don Lemon is, you know, he's out of the closet, famously. And then you have a picture of Michelle Obama says the most beautiful first lady of all time, which, that is true, but also a very low bar, like past 30 years. I mean, pretty easy to win that contest. She, obviously, I think most people would say, yeah, Melania by a mile and a half or a lot. They got 571 likes. We also have, let's see here. Sarah Smith saying truth, and it's Michelle Obama photoshopped the Ukrainian flag. It says, I stand to urinate, getting 234 likes. Let's see. Ruby Tubi says, did Michelle just admit she's a black man, getting 3.3 thousand likes? Trying to see if there's any contrarian statements. Oh, there's the famous clip of Joan Rivers saying how Michelle Obama's a man.
Excited.
Yeah.
And I should do very well because I don't charge.
And do you think that the country will see the United States will see the first gay president or the first woman
we
president?
already have it with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
You know Michelle is a
I'm sorry, she's a what?
a transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. It's okay.
That's from July 2024, and then people are saying how she, you know, apparently briefly died after that, or not briefly, she shortly, you know, after that statement passed away. Thomas B says, new fairy tale. It says Disney's new harebrained idea. It says Snow White, it's Snow Mike, getting 40 likes. Let's see. Captain Dreamer simply says LOL, getting 536 likes. So pretty much the comments are all, all in agreement. You also have the clip from Michelle Obama dancing on Ellen DeGeneres. I think some people said it was a photoshopped, or what do you call it? Video edited clip. Oh, well. But yeah, it shows a bulge when she dances, getting 122 likes. Yeah. A couple people have some pictures of Michelle Obama's back looking very similar to Mike Tyson. So, yeah, I was going to say, I don't think this will be taken seriously by most folks, probably. But yeah, I'm actually surprised half the memes aren't talking about how, you know, a couple years ago, we're really viral. Everyone was asking, you know, Michelle Obama doesn't have any pregnancy pictures, apparently, which, again, having friends who are all having kids, it seems to be half the things they do in life is take lots of pictures. And yet they never really produce those, I suppose. But let me know your thoughts and comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, the Tim Walz staffer will now face federal charges for, well, costing $20,000 in Tesla damages after Tim Walz and the state said, oh yeah, we're not going to prosecute this person because they're bullied online. I kid you not, that was the justification for why Minnesota is so lawless. They said, this person surely caused $20,000 in damages to vehicles, but they made fun of online. Yeah, that's how weak, pathetic, and conquered Minnesota is. They don't enforce any laws. Well, they do, but only against people on the right. Now, going to the specific article, it's brought to us thanks to Chicago Ray. And he says, quote, AG Pam Bondi just announced federal charges for the Tesla attacker in Arizona. Minnesota's DA refuses to charge Dylan Adams, who worked under Tim Walz. AG Pam Bondi to charge Dylan Adams for damaging Tesla's $20,000. Apologies, that should be from Arizona. Will they go after Minnesota? Let's see here. Play this clip really quick. Oh, come on. No volume? No, it's the Tesla camera video. Which again also shows how dumb these people are. Not just immoral, but they're so dumb they're going up to Teslas which have multiple cameras and they're causing damage. Again, how dumb are you? Like, they don't realize, oh yeah. So dumb. This guy's actually taking time to write some stuff on the car and with the key. That's an annoying sound. Not my voice, the actual, chirping in the video there. And this should went more viral. Got 500,000 views and 41,000 likes. One of the first comments come to us thanks to Deplorable One saying, quote, "The left is calling for violence every day now. How low can they go?" And then they have a poll from Fox. Oh, is that from? No, sorry, CNN. And it says approval for Democrats in Congress. 21% of people approve of them. 68% disapprove. Also have Her Haas saying, quote, "Not a single person who paid to abuse children on Epstein's Island have been arrested," getting 119 likes, which is pathetic. Should fix that. Jeff says, quote, "Pam, we can't just set this precedent for liberal Minnesotans to have free pass for this type of behavior. Arrests need to happen. People need to be deterred. We also need to we also need you to hear us and take action, please," getting 251 likes. Going down more and more, you have Phil saying, quote, "This is politically motivated, so is domestic terrorist, and we want to see him in jail," getting 16 likes. Al Wagner says, quote, "Bondi needs to charge this guy with federal crimes and dismantle this disaster that is Minnesota justice system," getting 62 likes. Well, it is utter trash. I mean, Minnesota is such a sad, weak, conquered state. Their flag was changed so that it looks like a rudimentary flag of Somalia because they imported so many of them. So it's good to see they're going after some people that are doing these egregious crimes, but we'll see if there's any real justice done at the end of the day. Maybe I'm a little jaded, but I don't think so. But let me know your thoughts in the comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the business blunder of the day, you have the BMW company. Well, they thought, let's put a 4-cylinder into our M2 race car, which, yeah, no one wants that. Now, they actually did do this, apparently. Now, it's brought to us thanks to Adrian over at Motor1.com. And they say, quote, "BMW defends the M2 race car's 4-cylinder engine. They say it's all about keeping costs low," which I've never heard a single person at BMW say that ever in my life. Keeping costs low. Really? It's a BMW. No one in the right mind says it's an entry-level car. No. That can't be the real reason. Really? Either way, it's 4 cylinders. 4 cylinders are great. They belong to a Honda Civic with a turbo. BMW, straight 6 or V8, or ideally the V12 with the stick shift, but they're not brave enough to do that on a mass scale anytime soon. Now, they say, quote, "BMW has been selling the 2nd generation M2 Coupe for a couple years now, but has only recently received a full race car treatment. Much to the dismay of purists, though, the new M2 Racing swaps the inline 6 for a smaller 4-cylinder engine." Which again, BMW has perfected the platform of the straight 6, aka 6 cylinders in a glorious straight row, because they've done that for decades. I mean, the only thing more perfect than that would be an American V8, but I partially digress. In terms of BMW heritage, the research development, their quality, it was all in that straight 6 design. And now they're going to go to 4, which is great for a Chevy Cobalt SS years ago. Or another platform, not BMW now. Jeez Louise. Now they say, quote, "That might sound backward, especially since track-only cars typically gain horsepower over street-legal siblings, but BMW has its reasons." We asked BMW why M2 Racing ditches the beloved 6-cylinder. Laura, man, I'm not going to purposely try to butcher her name, but it'll inevitably happen. Laura Classy Jeans from BMW M Motorsports Communications team explained that decision comes down to cost and simplicity. The inline 2-liter engine puts less strain on all the components, allowing the use of existing M2 street car parts, such as brakes and a cooling system. That translates to lower running costs for amateur racers, which represents the car's target audience. So instead of upgrading the car to make it more track ready or track worthy, you're simply downgrading the engine. If someone wants a track car with 4 cylinders, they're probably going to go with the Honda or the Acura option, which makes some great track toys. You don't see them at the dealerships, but a lot of these car companies do have track toys or, track cars that they'll make just for track use. Some of them not even street legal. Again, they usually have upgraded brakes, upgraded powertrain, upgraded aero, aka aerodynamics. But no, they're saying, oh yeah, we're going to just make the engine weaker so we don't have to upgrade anything else. So the BMW can be lower cost, which if you want a low cost track car, everyone is going to buy, well, not everyone, pretty much everyone is going to buy a Mazda Miata. A lot of people make fun of them. They make jokes that they come with a free purse, a too feminine. I wish I bought one decades ago because it's one of the best track toys, bar none. Again, if you want cheap consumables, again, things that wear down frequently and you have to pay to replace, like brake pads and tires, Miata is a great bang for your buck. There's a whole section of racing called Spec Miata. That's what you're going to do if you want an entry level sports car. Extremely well balanced, 4 cylinders glory. For the people who want a BMW, and I know some of my friends have BMW race cars, they don't want 4 cylinders. Here's another picture of it, which at least it looks cool. I'll give them credit. Aesthetically, it looks kind of neat with that, that specific paint pattern they decided to throw on it. So that's something. Now, they say that the M2 Racing uses a tuned version of BMW's familiar B48 engine, borrowed from the 230i, but massaged to make 308 horsepower and 310 foot-pound of torque. So you could just get a Honda Civic Type R. A great vehicle, but again, not a BMW. Now, they also say it's 53 horsepower and 15 more foot-pound of torque, more than the standard 2 Series Coupe. So they tuned it a little bit. Now they say, while that's a far cry from the 473 horsepower offered by the road-going M2's S58 engine, BMW says performance is just right for any entry-level race car tailored to beginners. They say that downsizing and fat-cutting strategy pays off. The M2 Racing weighs just 3,302 pounds, shedding a significant 512 pounds compared to the production model. The standard M2 offers, they have some redemption here. They offer a both 6-speed manual transmission as well as an 8-speed automatic, but the race version gets a 7-speed ZF automatic transmission. Well, that's more disappointment. Granted, I know the real gearheads in racing, the ones who want to shave seconds off their lap time, they want the automatic. But also, I'd say most enthusiasts getting into racing, they love that third pedal. It is, yes, I know it's not the fastest. I know for the umpteenth time I'll beat the comments, but not having the stick shift option, that's even more disappointment for this vehicle. Again, at least outside, it looks kind of cool. So throw some more pictures of it on the screen. Yeah, it looks pretty neat. So now you only have automatic. They say, interestingly, the M2 Racing is built in the same Mexican plant that assembles the regular M2. High quality. British engineering, made in Mexico. But it received several motorsport upgrades, including M4 GT4 driven exhaust, and racing catalytic. What gives a racing catalytic converter? I instinctively heard the sound of a sawzall just because again, racing. If it's a track, I was gonna say if it's also a track only vehicle, which I'm not necessarily saying this is one. Yeah, no one cares about catalytic converters. Now they also say, quote, it also gets adjustable anti-roll bars, good. Fixed AW shocks inspired by BMW's GT3 program. They say despite its stripped out interior, it still offers air conditioning, which is nice, but no true. A lot of people debate no true track car would have because that increases the weight. And I mean, a lot of them get rid of that, just like they get rid of the radio and the speakers. Now they even say you can also have a spec passenger seat at 98,000 pounds or whatever German money is, hamburgers. The M2 Racing is significantly more affordable than the larger siblings. The 219,000 euros, I guess. I forgot Germany's weak and conquered. So yeah, they would be euros because they don't have German money anymore because they have no identity or no spine. It's 219,000 M4 GT4 Evo and the 578,000 M4 GT3 Evo. Not the Mitsubishi Lancer, so I do miss that. Buyers can also choose from several upgrades, including a rear wing, racing brake pads. Can't get that anywhere else. A flap-controlled exhaust, an air jack system. Okay, there's something unique. That's racing gear right there. Sales are set to begin in June, with first deliveries scheduled later this year, just in time to prepare for the 2026 motor season. If you're worried about if you're worried the street-approved M2 will also lose 2 cylinders, don't be. The G87 will keep the 3-liter 6-cylinder for many years to come. They also know a hotter competition sport, CS, is expected to break cover soon, with reports stating BMW is also preparing an X-Drive variant for later this decade. Which, again, one of the first comments is from Randy Bone saying, all they seem to do these days is defend their terrible decisions, which, yeah. And again, I laugh because people who are short on cash and getting into racing, none of them are buying BMW. Just the maintenance alone. And again, BMW makes some cool stuff. If I had unlimited bankroll, I would probably have one BMW. Ideally 12 cylinders and a stick shift. But again, an entry-level track toy, I don't know who this car is for. Especially at that price point. 100 Monopoly money or 98,000 euros. At that price point, for half the cost, you can get a Honda Civic Type R. Which, again, I know is not a dedicated track toy. It's the best, it's right under the Honda Civic, race factory. But for bang for your buck, I wouldn't spend $100,000 on this. Especially because automatic only. Now, again, I know the enthusiasts who want to shave seconds off their lap time, which does mean a lot. That's how you break records. They'll want the automatic. But having less cylinders and they're trying to make an entry-level vehicle, I really don't understand who the prospective client is for this. The fact they don't have the option for their third pedal, the fact that it's a lesser engine. I mean, I expected this to be for like the entry-level M2. Kind of go the Camaro strategy, where at one time they had 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder options, just like the Dodge Challenger and Mustang. I would understand that perspective, but the fact that this is for racing really was a curveball to me. And granted, this is not meant to be a high-volume unit type of thing. It's very much a boutique thing they do for the racing enthusiasts, and it's really cool they do it. But again, the fact that you're paying so much money for a lesser engine, and they claim they're doing it for cost. It blows my mind. I have no idea how. I just don't think it's going to be it's consistent anyway. But so I gotta say, BMW with all this, I gotta say, and let me know if you think differently in the comments. But I gotta say, for now, BMW are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Again, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.